The first time it happened, I thought it was just a harmless slip of desire, an accident of passion that I would regret in the morning. But regret never came, only hunger, only this restless ache that kept pulling me back to him. His lips were pressed against mine, urgent, needy, as if I was the very air keeping him alive. His hands gripped my waist, sliding down with such reckless confidence that my body melted before my mind could resist. I whispered his name in the darkness, my voice trembling, my chest heaving. And that's when I should pause, right here, to remind you, before I take you too deep into this story, to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with others who crave stories that burn between the lines of secrecy and lust. Your support keeps me brave enough to reveal these forbidden chapters of my life. Now, let me take you back, to how it all began. It was a Tuesday evening, quiet in the house, my husband working late again. I had poured myself a glass of red wine, letting the smooth taste numb my loneliness. But loneliness is a dangerous flavor, it makes you crave sweetness from places you shouldn't. He was the sweetness. My neighbor's cousin, younger than me, reckless in the way only a man who has nothing to lose can be. He looked at me like I wasn't married, like the ring on my finger was invisible. And slowly, dangerously, I began to look at him the same way. That night, he texted me, 2 simple words, "I'm here." I should have ignored it. But instead, I opened the door. He walked in smelling of cologne and trouble, his smirk daring me to resist. My heart raced as I closed the door behind him. The silence was heavy, charged with temptation. And before I could form a word, his hands were already on me, pressing me against the wall, his mouth devouring mine. "Do you even know," he whispered between kisses, "how much I've wanted to taste you?" My knees weakened, my body betraying me, my mind screaming about the dangers, the lies, the betrayal. But his touch overpowered every thought. His lips traced my neck, his breath warm against my skin, and I was gone, completely gone. I had become his vending machine. He pressed, he took, he devoured. And the worst part? I gave willingly. And that was only the beginning. Somewhere in the middle of this story, I'll remind you again to hit that subscribe button, to like, to share, because the deeper we go, the more dangerous this adventure becomes. But for now, let me leave you on this cliff. The night ended with my back against the kitchen counter, his whispers sinking into me as deep as his hunger. I thought it would stop there, but oh, how wrong I was. I didn't think it would become a pattern. That first night, when I let him consume me, I told myself it was a one-time thing, an accident born out of weakness. But by the second week, I realized I was no longer just a woman with a secret. I was his source, his craving, his endless meal. He would come to me when the city grew quiet, when the lights of my suburban neighborhood dimmed, and my husband's snores echoed softly down the hallway. I remember the sound of his knock, never too loud, just a faint tap that could have been mistaken for the wind. But I always knew it was him. "Open," he'd whisper when I cracked the door. His voice carried hunger. Not the kind for food, but for me. And like a fool, or maybe a willing addict, I gave in every single time. Before I dive deeper, let me pause here. If you're listening to my story, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. My secrets are raw, but they're real, and I'm sharing them only because I know someone out there will relate. Maybe you too have been someone's endless craving, someone's hidden satisfaction. If so, share your thoughts in the comments. The way he touched me was nothing gentle. He consumed me like I was the last drop of water in a desert. His lips searched, his teeth grazed, his tongue lingered. Every motion reminded me that I wasn't just a woman, I was his obsession. But obsession is dangerous. Because while I thought I was giving him pieces of me in secret, he was slowly learning how much control he had. I started sneaking out of dinners with my husband. Claiming headaches. Claiming stress from work. All just to answer his late-night hunger. I'd meet him in my kitchen, sometimes still wearing the apron from preparing dinner, and he would press me against the counter like I was some forbidden dish he couldn't resist. "Do you ever get tired?" I asked him once, breathless, my hair messy from his grip. "Not when it comes to you," he replied, voice low, eyes dark. And that's when I realized. I had stopped being a woman with choices. I had become his endless machine. And he wasn't planning to stop feeding anytime soon. Somewhere in the middle of this mess, I want to remind you again, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You might think this is just a story, but for me, it's a confession. But here's the twist, the more I gave him, the more I started questioning myself. Was this lust, or was I fooling myself into believing it was love? Because every time he left, every time I cleaned myself up and slipped back into bed next to my husband, I felt that hollow emptiness. The kind that whispers, he'll be back tomorrow. He'll always come back. Because he knows you'll open the door. And I always did. I thought I had already given him everything, my time, my body, my loyalty, and my silence. But in truth, he wasn't satisfied. He never was. His hunger for me was endless, like a man who had tasted a forbidden fruit and could never stop reaching for more. The nights turned into a pattern, almost ritualistic. He'd come over after his late shift, smelling faintly of whiskey and desire, and collapse onto me like I was his only escape. My body became his vending machine, his convenient store of lust, where he'd take and take, never asking, never considering if I had anything left to give. I remember one night, I whispered, "Aren't you tired yet?" He only smirked, kissing down my shoulder, answering without words. His hands roamed as if ownership was his right, and I melted against the inevitability of him. Before I take you deeper, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this story with someone who craves stories just like this one. Your support keeps these secrets alive. By then, I was exhausted, but my exhaustion was powerless against his appetite. My protests softened into sighs, my weariness twisted into strange pleasure. Each time I swore it would be the last, yet when he pressed his lips to mine and demanded more, I couldn't push him away. Somewhere in my heart, I knew I was becoming a shadow of myself. My body was aching, my spirit was fading, yet the intensity of his desire chained me to him. But here's the truth, part of me craved it too. The endless taking, the devouring, the sense that I was the only thing in the world that could satisfy him. It was intoxicating, even when it hurt. And deep down, I wondered, if he ever stopped, if he ever turned his hunger elsewhere, would I miss it? I never thought I'd get used to the rhythm of being consumed, yet here I was, living in cycles of his endless appetite. Every time he touched me, it felt like he was pulling another piece of me, like I was nothing more than his never-ending feast, his unpaid vending machine, always ready to serve, never asking for anything in return. There were nights when I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, my body still trembling from the way he drained me. I would whisper to myself, why do I keep allowing this? But the answer always came back the same, because I couldn't resist him. His hunger was my addiction, and my exhaustion was the price I paid for the fire he set in me. And if you're here listening to my story, don't forget, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who craves stories of passion and secrecy. It keeps me brave enough to keep telling you these confessions. The truth is, his appetite was beyond physical. He needed me not just for lust, but as a place to empty his chaos, his frustrations, his loneliness. I became his comfort, his escape, his meal at midnight, his drink at dawn. And every time he pressed me against his chest, I told myself I was strong enough to handle it. But deep down, I knew. I was breaking piece by piece. There were moments when I almost said no. When I wanted to step back and reclaim my body, my soul, my peace. But the second his lips brushed my skin, the fight dissolved. My exhaustion melted under his desire. It was like being trapped in a storm that both destroyed me and kept me alive. He'd whisper things like, "You're mine, always mine." And even though I knew I should have pushed him away, I let myself sink into the lie, because the way he devoured me made me feel more alive than my quiet, empty marriage ever did. Somewhere in between his fierce kisses and the aching aftermath, I realized, I wasn't just giving him my body. I was giving him my power. And the worst part? I wasn't sure I wanted it back. In those moments, I questioned everything. Was I a victim of his hunger, or a willing servant to it? Did I really want to stop, or was I secretly feeding on the way he consumed me? These questions haunted me, even as his hands kept pulling me closer, even as his mouth claimed me again and again. And now, as I tell you this, I wonder, have you ever been caught in such a storm? Where desire turns into chains, where pleasure becomes a cage you don't want to leave. If you're still here with me, don't forget to hit subscribe and share this confession. Because my story isn't just about lust, it's about the pieces of myself I gave away endlessly, until I wasn't sure there was anything left. I can't really tell you when I stopped resisting and started craving it. Maybe it was after the second time, when his lips crushed mine like he owned me. Or maybe it was later, when his hunger didn't just touch my body, it swallowed my soul. He never asked if I was tired. He never wondered if I was drained. To him, I was always there, always open, always ready to be devoured. And strangely, I let him. Even when exhaustion pulsed through my veins, even when my legs ached and my chest heaved, his touch reignited something reckless inside me. I remember one night in particular. The room was dark, the world asleep, and I had already given more than I thought I had to give. My body begged for rest. My mind screamed for pause. But when he looked at me, when his hands slid across my skin with that urgent need, I melted. Again. "Please, not tonight," I whispered once. My words barely left my lips before his kiss silenced them, pulling me back into that cycle of endless giving. And I gave. Because a part of me didn't know how not to. Call it lust. Call it madness. Call it weakness. I became his unpaid meal vending machine, endlessly feeding his appetite. And yet, deep down, I wasn't just drained, I was addicted. Addicted to the way his hunger validated my existence. Addicted to the way his body claimed mine like it was the only truth that mattered. Even now, telling you this, I wonder, was it love? Or was it something darker, something selfish, something destructive? Before I let you go, let me remind you, if you've been drawn into this confession, if you felt the fire and the ache through my words, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, like this video, and share it with someone who might crave stories just as intoxicating and dangerous as mine. Because my adventure, my secret, is far from over. I was never caught. No one knows the real story but me, and now, you. His lips had been my undoing, his hunger my escape, and my lies, my shield. What began as a stolen spark turned into a fire I couldn't control, one that devoured my guilt and drenched me in ecstasy. Yes, I betrayed. Yes, I lied. But every lie carried a kiss, every excuse held a moan, every secret curled inside the heat of his touch. And when I look back now, I realize, I wasn't just betraying my vows. I was betraying myself, surrendering to the glamorous ache of lust that refused to let me go. So, if you've been with me through this story, through every hidden whisper and stolen night, then you already know, some betrayals don't destroy us, they define us.